Nope, not yet. Nope. Hey everyone, how's it going? It is I, the real Randy Chavez. I'm coming at you today with a OMI is my homie episode number 57 with my co-host Crypto Rain. Everyone say hello to Dashi. Rain, how you doing?
Amazing.
So, I unfortunately will not be able to have Dr. Stuff here today, but it's for I think a good reason. He's traveling from apparently what was one of the greatest bashes that VeVe and OMI has ever put on, and I understand that there was you got something out of it as well.
Yes, that was awesome. So Dr. of Stuff made the case to David, you, and Dan directly, asking if they would do a gold and silver logo for me. And they said, hell yes. So thank you, Dr. of Stuff. That was amazing. Thank you. And thank you to Dan and David. That was super sweet. They did a video call, and I was at the hot tub in the gym. And so I took the call, and they're like, hey, Dan and David are right here. So I'm like, mostly naked.
Just a little naked.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. We have an interesting show. You have Turtle Golf saying it sounded like VeVe has done well over 1.2 billion. They have actually reached 1.4 billion in secondary market sales. Because all of these sales would have been done on Stacker. How much would we have? Oh God. Well, 1.4 billion, which is a lot. 2.5. So that's about 35 million that VeVe has earned from that. But for Stacker, do you know what the burns are specific? Is it 1.5%?
I don't know what the burns are.
Even at 1%, that would have been $14 million of the burns. Obviously, the price was much higher years ago. So let's say average at 0.003. You'd have like 4.6 billion OMI that was burned from that, if that were to be. Now, obviously, we have OMI burn every day from Stacker, and that's great. And all right, so I guess that could be one of our first things to go over. I've heard it argued by a lot of people that, burns are just kind of gimmicky. They're not really anything that does a ton. I mean, if someone's buying back, then the buying is already done. Burning it kind of doesn't really do anything after that. But I think it also does get a couple people, oh, they burn, oh, they're deflationary. Even if it doesn't actually mean that much, I feel like it gets people kind of interested. What are your thoughts?
Yes. So the buyback and burn thing has been a gimmick since 2017, and that's right around the time OMI launched. And it's not, when I say gimmick has negative connotations. Here's the thing, so companies have profits. Is it better to take those profits and use them to build a better product? Or is it better to take those profits and buy some of the token back and burn it? Well, if they use the money well, I think the first is better. But the second isn't bad. It's good that it happens. And what's funny is, if people are thinking about how much burns would have happened if it all happened on Stacker over the past 4 years, they haven't seen anything yet, because this coming bull market is going to be crazy. And prices are going to get massively inflated again. And a bunch of that buying is going to happen on Stacker. What is going to happen when it happens on Stacker? Well, the 1.4 billion in secondary market sales that's already happened will be surpassed, and possibly 1.4 billion in sales in this next year directly on Stacker. We'll see, but I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. And so the burns are going to become a big thing. Like OMI, a lot of people don't get it with OMI because they look at the price history and they see 3 years of it going down. And they have recency bias that tells them, oh my gosh, it's been going down for forever. It's just going to keep going down. And that's not the case. It will reverse. It will go really, really high from here. And people that just have a fundamental understanding of what drives tokens to go up, they get it. And they're patiently waiting for it to happen.
Nice. Agreed. Very, very patiently. Sometimes I'm not patient, but I like to think most of the times I am. There was a couple of people that had made level 100 this past couple months. The second girl has reached level 100. Raven. Yeah, shout out to her. Always glad to see. Got to celebrate more ladies in here doing that. Now there's I don't know if it's a now. Let's say someone like Dr. Rolex, Mr. Dr. Rolex is super active. He's always in spaces, and it's not always just in VeVe spaces. Now he's into a lot of other stuff on L1X and VFriends and stuff, and he does tell those communities about VeVe and OMI. So I think that's like one of the perfect examples of what like a level 100, like what you could ask them to do. I mean, they've already given so much. Like Mr. MC1 is has given quite a lot. Throws up these lavish parties. Was the first to invest in my channel, and the other the other level 100s are awesome just because they are. Um, do you think it might have like anyone like us might have the right to go in and say like, hey, I wish, could you be a little more active? Could you like go in and join these spaces and not become an influencer, but just kind of like get themselves out there? Not say they have to do like what we do, because I think the more you're not a level 100 unless you're probably fairly competent in life, and you can't get there by sitting and waiting for the bus. You have to be actively buying, and I feel like that gives us a little more credibility. Or would you say, you know what, they're level 100 already, they did their part, they don't need to?
So if I were VeVe, I wouldn't ask people to do that. I would create a new secret rare VeVe item, and then I would give it to him for doing that, and I'd make a big deal about it. And, and say there's 300, 400 of those. So then they just randomly reward those that are doing that with it. How much did it cost them? Not very much. How much is it worth? Well, it's very limited. So it has a value. It also has a brag value. So it's a way that they can incentivize it. Because better than asking people to do that is just straight up start rewarding people for doing that. One of the things VeVe did right was the VeVe logo signs. Like, they didn't announce that they were going to do it. They just randomly started sending it to people who were covering VeVe so much. And it created a cascade of new people covering VeVe. So, I mean, they did that right then. Keep doing that. They've kind of done it with their VeVe gold and silver logo. So they're almost out of those to give out, like almost entirely. And so, like, create something else, not like a logo, but create something cool, VeVe related, that you could give out. This got a limited run, and give it out for people that are doing that. I think it's a great idea. I think it would incentivize people. Like, they would get so much extra value from people like Mr. Rolex doing that. And it would help him feel validated for all the work he puts in to do that. Like, obviously he does it because he's super passionate about VeVe, and he's bought so much because he's passionate about VeVe. But boy, it just adds gasoline on that fire that's already burning and makes him more excited to do more.
I was a little not so we were kind of play fighting the other day because I was behind him. He's number 5. When you go on Stacker on the leaderboards, you get to see what place you are. Like, I rank like number 373 on like the Marvel collectibles, and the more you have, the higher you rank, or lower you rank, lower is better. And he was number 5 and I was number 6, and I sold a couple things and I put in a little bit of money, and I got my number 5 spot back, and I made a little post be like, I know it's only temporary, but it's nice to be on the top 5 of the sub 100 Marvel collectors. And then Rolly said, yeah, this lasted about 5 minutes. He just got like 10 more things. And I was like, smooth. That was nice. That was fun. Speaking of fun, Pump Fun, for those of you that don't know what that is, that's where people on Solana can launch their meme coin. It's on Pump Fun. And they're raising $1 billion at a $4 billion fully diluted valuation. The token is coming soon. When stuff like this happens, we saw it in January where the Trump meme coin and Melania meme coin sucked a bunch of liquidity out of the markets. A lot of stuff went there. $1 billion is a decent amount, and their token's coming, so it might suck a little liquidity out of the market. But if it's successful, it'll go to billions of dollars. If it's not, it won't go that high. Do you think with all of these major companies getting into crypto and certain people launching their version of stable coins, or some people launching coins in general, you think it's going to be harder for legit projects to get money thrown into it when you have other projects that are launching like $4 billion valuation is nuts? Do you think it makes it harder for these companies?
Well, so at some point you see a cascade into strong fundamentals, and we haven't seen that yet, right? We saw a meme coin pump early. When was it? Early last year, like March of 2024, and it was just going crazy, and all these dumb meme coins coming out. I say dumb because what I don't like about meme coins is, number one, there's like 10,000 that launch and like 3 do well, and so your chances of picking them, the ones that actually are going to win, are low. So I don't like them because your chances of getting a winner, like so many are rug pulls. You don't know anything about the team. It's just the predictability on them is really, really low. And there's no fundamentals behind them. That money is just like going to the casino, and in many cases, it's just rug pulled on you. I like stronger fundamental investment in actual companies that are building things that make sense, that we need cryptographical encryption and blockchain to allow the internet to do better. And digital collecting wasn't really possible without that. So now that blockchain and cryptographical encryption can verify that you actually, yes, own a legitimate VeVe collectible or Marvel collectible or Disney collectible or DC collectible, like that is an actual item, and it can go right on the marketplace that verifies that, yes, it's legit and it can sell in the marketplace, that has real value. And so there is a certain point in the bull run. It's usually not till later, when Bitcoin has gone much, much higher, some money cascades into some of the higher alts, that people go on a gem search. They look for those strong fundamentals. That's when it cascades, and it cascades into strong fundamentals. And, it only really happens once every 4 years in a big way. You might get a narrative run, like randomly all of a sudden everyone could focus on digital collectibles. Outside of that bigger bull run, cool, that might happen. It probably won't, though. What will happen is Bitcoin will go to 150, 160, 170,000. All this money starts pouring in the space. Some of it goes to ETH and then XRP and other things. And then it starts really rolling into smaller cap projects that are massively undervalued. And I think OMI is one of those altcoins that will get tons of that cascade. As well as you'll have people waking up to like, oh, crypto's so cool. And oh my gosh, Disney digital collectibles. Whoa. Augmented reality. Whoa. Then they'll be telling all their friends, especially because there's a value to those items. So they'll buy them and they'll pay $50 for it before they know it'll be worth $200. And then they'll be telling all their friends about their Mickey Mouse that went to $200. And then their friends will be wanting to buy a Mickey Mouse at $200, which will drive the price up to $400, $500, $600. And so digital collectibles will have their run as well as OMI will have its run. And that's just how it plays out. And it played out that way in 2017. It played that way in 2021. I know people say it won't play out that way this time. Yes, it will. They said it wouldn't play out that way in 2021, that there were too many altcoins, that the altcoins weren't going to run. And there was still, there were tons of altcoins then, and some of them didn't run. The ones with strong fundamentals, they did.
What's up? I break stuff. Straight fire. So there was a couple of things that happened today. You have Bitcoin that's relatively flat on the day, but it is above 110, which it peaked for a bit yesterday. During the week, it had gone down to like 1019 or 1013 or something like that. And people were like, yo, it's going back to the 90s. They're liquidating all the whales. And then obviously, of course, it's back up to 110 now. ETH is up 5% on the day to 2,800. We'll get into Lisbon in a second, but so David was there, Dan was there, Foster was there, Got the Profit. And there's people in the company where we know their faces. Obviously we know My Collectibles, we know Old Rhubarb or Corey, and those are the faces of the company. But there's quite a lot of other people that we have no idea who they are. So on LinkedIn, you have a guy named Conrad Smith saying, I'm excited to share that I'm shifting into a new position as the head of product at VeVe. Looking forward to this next chapter as we help collectors celebrate their passions through engaging, innovative digital experiences. And is it important to know everyone at the company, or at least more than the main few, or is that it? Like, no, we know the COO and the CEO and the founders, and that's really all you need because everyone answers to them.
Well, yeah, it's always helpful to know more people at a company. What I like about VeVe is that you see from a lot of crypto projects is sometimes the CEO or some of the executives will sometimes do YouTube interviews. But other than that, you really only get to interact with some Telegram admin that may or may not have like access to good information. And VeVe has picked out some really good ambassadors, right? So, well, I don't know what you would call them, but so My Collectibles and Foster doing it, Comey, My Collectibles doing VeVe, and just like good spokespeople, I guess, for the different things. So there's good interaction there. You know, a lot of the community are able to reach those guys and figure out what's going on. And those people meet often or talk often with the head people at VeVe and Comey. And so they have good information. So I like the structure that they've set up. Getting to know other people, I mean, is it necessary as an investor? No. Is it fun? Yes, because we like to know like who's there and, you know, what value they're adding. And, you know, it's easy to get passionate about VeVe because it is fun.
Agreed.
And then it's kind of fun to know more people that work there.
Yeah, just spread the joy, spread the warmth. But let's go over a couple of things that they did go over at Lisbon. You have Dan Crothers mentioning OMI multiple times in that. It wasn't even an interview; it was just like a speaking thing that he did and it was only 15 minutes, but damn, it was that impactful. So we'll get to OMI in a second, but one of the things that he mentioned was Spotify, where it seems like they're going to focus on interoperability. Like he said that. Now, granted, when they make a declaration like that, it might take much, much longer than everyone wants, but they do deliver that eventually. And if he's mentioning it now, I don't think it's something that, oh yeah, we just had a meeting about that, we're going to focus on it. It's probably something that they've been focusing on for a while. What are your thoughts on this? Because I never really cared about interoperability. I'm going to keep my stuff on VeVe anyway. I'm not going to put mine in a MetaMask. But a lot of Web3 purists hate on VeVe because you can't put it in a MetaMask. Pros, cons, give me your complete thoughts.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how that will shake out. But like, what's funny with early stage investment in businesses, sometimes people think, oh yeah, I would have invested in eBay in the early days, or I would have invested in Google in the early days. I would have invested in Amazon in the early days. And the truth is they wouldn't have, because Amazon at the time, for like after the first couple of years of like all this hurrah and the .com boom, it went through 7 to 10 years of decline as far as stock values, and everyone talking crap on it for 7 to 10 years because it overboomed and it overbusted. And so what I see with VeVe is a company that's leading this idea of digital collectibles. What is a digital collecting going to look like in 4 to 10 years? Easy. You'll be able to showcase what your collectibles are, probably be integrated with some kind of virtual world. It'll be easy to buy. It'll be easy to interact. You'll be able to show all your friends it really easy and display it. And so people have a hard time picturing that it's going to be so easy then, because right now it's only slightly easy, right? Like, unless your friends have VeVe, or you make a video of inside your vault and then post it to your social media, they won't really be able to see your collectibles. And so the ease that's going to be there down the road is not here yet. So I was excited that they're thinking about that they're working on putting that together, because that's the future of digital collecting. So VeVe right now is in the lead position, in my opinion, for digital collecting. They're killing most of their competitors. Now, NBA Top Shots is doing a good job, NFL All Day, UFC Strike, but those are sports moments. These are digital collectibles like brand names like Marvel, Disney, and so they compete but don't compete at the same time. So they're cooperators and competitors at the same time. And VeVe is crushing it in this idea of digital collectible space. And as long as they keep innovating, they'll probably stay in that position as the market space for digital collecting goes huge. And VeVe hopefully continues to be the dominant force in that. I mean, that's what I'm betting on. I'm betting on David and Dan. Like, I think they've got a track record of massive success. Everyone who's met David Yu is like, you just can't help but love that guy. And so I'm betting on not only them, but their track record of what they've been doing so far. And as much as people complain that they wish things would done faster, they've done so much innovation to the app. The app works so much better. We now have a web version. We have so much augmentation. You've got the VeVe out now. You've got so much happening, right? That they've been promising over the years has now been delivered. So they have a history of delivering too. Is it always as fast as people want? That's just how technology is. No. Ask Microsoft if they ever deliver as fast as people want. Like, they release, Microsoft Windows, and I don't ever get them right away because I know there's going to be 6 months of massive bugs with whatever their latest release is. And so it's just a problem with technology in general. But I think Dan and David have done a fantastic job, and their team with VeVe. And yeah, I bet big on them because I believe in them.
Agreed. They have, again, a lot of experience running. Now, granted, very few people in the world have experience of running a company at this level. I've had a couple of businesses, but they were very, very kind of like one-man shops. I didn't have to manage dozens of employees and deal with these super high-end executives over at Disney and other places. So their job is hard. It's like president. Like, how do you prepare to be president? How do you prepare to run this giant company? So yeah, there's a bit of a learning curve, and I think they've learned from it. And now obviously they know what to do in this bull market, and I think they'll go in and they'll be a bit smarter when their valuation goes up crazy high. I'd hope that they would sell like 5 or 10%, take a large chunk, save it for the bear, just buy up everything. I would love for them to buy up some companies. Anyway, I mentioned Shopify before. NBA Top Shots went on OpenSea, I think last week. And it's just NBA Top Shots for now. I don't think UFC Strike's there. I don't think NFL All Day is there. But at least that's a good first step. If they are talking about interoperability, and again, being able to have it on Shopify, is that the first place that you would think of? Now, granted, Shopify does, I think, 10 or 20% of all of e-commerce in the US, which is freaking nuts. I didn't know that. That's a lot of volume. Have you used Shopify? Because I have not ever.
Never. Not that I'm aware of. Maybe I haven't been aware of it. So it hasn't been part of my path. I use Amazon all the time, but not Shopify. Yeah. But is it a big deal? Yes. Tons of people use Shopify. I just can't say I understand how the interaction is going to happen there, because I just don't know Shopify.
Agreed. One of the things that Crypto Cosmo posted, because he was there as well, saying enforcing royalties while offering self-custody and interoperability. If they had never gone on a secondary or a tertiary market before, I would say, okay, yeah, this might take them a while, but Disney kind of already agreed to this on Stacker. They already agreed, Marvel already agreed. Every single license has already agreed to be on Stacker. So there shouldn't be that much red tape. It's like, hey, here's the same exact contracts. We're just swapping out Stacker for Shopify or Stacker for OpenSea. But OpenSea, I don't know how, they've never enforced royalties before, or they had an issue where they weren't enforcing royalties. I don't know if they have started to. I feel like after you go from a $14 billion company to less than a $2 billion company, you probably do what people are asking. Do you know if OpenSea does that yet?
I know the problem came out that one of their competitors found a way to go around like the Bored Ape Yacht Club royalties. And then OpenSea, I think, gave in and did it too, because they were losing tons of market share to that competitor, which is bad for NFTs. It sounds great. It's like, oh, I can save 5%, but you are killing the goose that lays the golden eggs, because brands won't produce digital collectibles in that environment. Those royalties help pay the creators to make it worth their time. And so don't kill the goose that lays the golden eggs. So if, obviously everyone is aware of what OpenSea did in the past. So if VeVe's making a deal with them, I'm sure there's some kind of contract in place about that. because royalties need to continue to happen. Sure, it all seems like great. Let's take that away. That free is often a terrible price. So if you take away what the royalties made by those who create it, then they can't afford to keep creating it, and so it will kill the digital collectible space.
Agreed. Congrats to May New Zealand for getting a very well-deserved gold and silver logo, as well as you. And there's a couple. So there was a bunch handed out, and normally when there's a healthy amount that's handed out, usually one or two people will be like, this is a lot of money. I'm gonna, get that cheddar. And sometimes you have people that be like, okay, I'll buy it, or people that, let's say, they didn't get it handed out to them at that event, but they had gone to the event, they had redeemed all of the stuff that they had, meaning like they had the Ron English stuff, and they would sometimes sell. You normally, after an event, you kind of see the price go down, but the opposite happened this event. The price of the VeVe Gold logo had gone up from like $3,050 to now $3,500. I wonder what was so special about the party that people they're like, nope, this is, and it's speculation. But
I would hope everybody who received one wouldn't sell it, right? This is edition number 105, so this is mine. This is never going on the market unless I die. If I die, my wife's probably going to sell it. But as long as I'm alive, like, why would I ever sell this? No way. A special to me, edition 105, great edition. I love it. Never going to sell it. Why would anybody who gets given one? I get in the early days, it was kind of like handed out, like at that Comic-Con and stuff. And I get that some people don't have a long-term vision, but yeah, I'm glad they didn't sell theirs.
Yeah. So that's, yeah, I'm just trying to think why the people have bought it up to where there was like 8, I think, that had bought and sold, bringing it up to 3,500. What have you heard from Crypto Cosmo or Dr. So? I've seen it online. Like the recaps were incredible. And shout out to VeVe Magic and the OMI Homies, Max and Janie, for going out and documenting everything. But what do you think was so special about it that made people get FOMO? Was it the pictures, the videos, the fact that we're going into a bull market?
Well, so I think over time people have realized the significance of the value of it already, and then just a little bit of fear of missing out, right? So you'll see as the market really starts to take off, some people that really want one, they just haven't allocated the money to it. They will, especially as the price starts going up. They're like, crap, I'm going to miss my moment. And you'll see a bunch more sell. So we're getting close to when the altcoin part of the bull market will hit, and it probably won't hit till Bitcoin surpasses like 160,000. But when it does, at some point, OMI goes crazy and digital collectibles go crazy. When it does, the VeVe gold and silver logo is going to go crazy, which doesn't do us any good because we're never going to sell it. But yeah, it'll be fun to watch it go crazy, right?
Heck yeah. What's up, Vegan Things? How's it going? What's up, King of the North? In one of the pictures, we'll get one that had Sanjay's in the background there. One of the pictures, David's wearing a Sony Pictures hat.
Interesting.
I know. Like, I feel like he knew he was wearing that. I wonder what we might get out of that. Maybe we'll see at some point. Mr. MC1 say, Randy, I'm thrilled with the Definity press release about you yesterday. By the way, those get high priority on Google and Gen AI searches over the other data pages and posts. Thank you. Far too kind. We both have I think a fairly significant stake in Definity, in both the business and the token. So I'm gonna show it whenever I can. Can't wait. Anyway,
I love the team behind it, and I think it's going to do extremely well.
Yeah, same here. There's been quite a bit, and maybe this is our fault for not mentioning it all the time, but VeVe Meister put out a couple of posts. Like, one was just like, hey, here's how much OMI we burned today from Stacker, because he tracks that, and that's awesome. And there was a couple of people that didn't know that burned OMI. So he made like another post, and like, since apparently not everybody knows, did you know that every single purchase on Stacker burns OMI? And even on that post, like people, is that something that we should be talking about more? I feel like once you mention it once, like don't mention it a bunch of times, but apparently people don't know.
One of the challenges with buying and selling on Stacker is like I have a hard time parting with OMI, even if I just bought OMI.
Yeah.
I just like its value to me is so much higher than where it's at. So it's kind of like the currency that has the most long-term value is the one people least want to use. So gems are pegged to the dollar over OMI. So like sometimes there's some arbitrage that you can go on and you'll find something lower in OMI value than it is on the market. In that case, always buy it up because you can easily go from, say, your Coinbase account to fund your Stacker, and then you can buy the OMI and then buy it because then you're burning OMI on top of that. So you get double benefit. But I'll often still use the app just because like I'm trying to accumulate more OMI, not spend it on items. So now down the road, will I exchange some OMI for items? Yeah, when it goes crazy, if it's disproportionately gone crazy compared to the collectibles, at that point I will.
I guess David was a baller. David and Dan generously pulled out the VeVe card to pay for dinners and drinks the whole week. That might be them celebrating that the lawsuit is over and they are onwards. Yeah, I think they're going to be maybe a bit less frugal and now a little bit more up to spend some of what they might have in the war chest. I feel like that could potentially be a good thing if they go have some fun things. It was discovered the other day that Trump's National Economic Council Chair Kevin Hassett, that he has over $1 million in Bitcoin and other cryptos. Every now and then, a big superstar gets, they give out their wallet address, somebody figures it out, and then people start sending stuff to that person because then this person will say, like, if this person gets crypto, they're going to be like, okay, this could be a scam and it could drain my wallet, so they're not going to interact with it, so they're not going to sell it, so it stays there. And sometimes people go in and they send them a lot of a certain crypto and they say, like, see, this person has this much crypto, and then if other people buy. Is that something? Is that a tactic that the OMI homies that we should use? Let's say like Mario Nawful, we know his base address or ETH address. We send him a couple grand worth of OMI, but guys, Mario Nawful just aped in.
I don't know. It sounds like a gimmick. What's funny is like VeVe and OMI are going to do well enough without all that stuff. They really are. Like, I mean, Star Wars collectibles, DC, Marvel comics. What a big deal. Some independent comics on top of there. Like, they're set up for what's coming extremely well. They've also fixed so many bugs and everything on the app on the computer as well as the app on the phone. Like, they're just set up well for the onslaught that's coming with people coming into the crypto space. Like, I know some people aren't feeling it now. They're like, you're totally burned out by the bear market. I get it. And recency bias is real. Even when you know you have recency bias and you tell yourself, oh my gosh, I've got recency bias, still you almost can't picture what's going to happen until you've been through the cycle multiple times. Now, I've been investing for 25 years. So I've been through the cycles of things multiple times. And that's why I know, like, yes, you know, just like you're used to the cycle of the day, you know, when you go to bed at night and it's dark for forever until all of a sudden it's light, you know that, like, yeah, light always follows the darkness. A lot of people, this is their first cycle and they're really struggling to believe that it's really going to happen because it feels like it won't. It won't.
I am also very cautiously optimistic because in January we were just like, yo, Bitcoin's pumping, ETH is next, you know, all alt season should be here by like spring or midsummer, and then everything crashed for 3 months, and it was like, oh. And that
the hard thing is telling when it's going to happen. Like, that's somewhat unpredictable. It comes down to probabilities, right? And so there was a probability that it could happen in spring or summer. It was a lower probability, but more likely it is late this year. And it might not even be late this year. It might be early next year. I don't think it'll be later than that.
Yeah. On R saying, I just picked up another 10 million OMI, bringing the total bag to 105. Super excited to see OMI make moves and say that 8-cent mark. 8 cents is a lot. That's a lot. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say I'm going to be happy at 2. Well, I'm not going to be sad when it reaches 2 cents, but I would. I don't know. I feel like the. You ever see American History X? Great movie. Edward Norton goes into like prison, and he's like plays this like racist guy in the movie, and then he's like cellmates with this like he has a black cellmate, and they just kind of bond over basketball, and suddenly he's like not really racist anymore, right? He spends time with them. If you were talking to me like 3 years ago after, or not even like 2 years ago, it's like, all right, we've had 1 year in the bear. It's yeah, I think when we come back, we'll come back with a vengeance, 8 to 10 cents. But in the same way that prison changed Ed Norton in that movie, the bear market, I think, has changed my psychology. And I like it's that 8 cents seems like an impossible mountain to climb. And I've gone over things like, well, if a bunch of this stuff happens, we can still get there. But I've kind of changed my prediction like 2 to 4 cents because I think that's a bit more feasible. And
recency bias is real. It feels like 8 cents is unfathomable. Could it hit it? It might. It just comes down to probabilities. Like you're saying, there's a higher probability they'll hit 2 to 4 cents, but 8 cents isn't out of the question. But after you've been through a bear market, like it really squishes down your estimations of how things are going to go because you're just like used to getting disappointed. And then you start to get your hope up and then you're kicked to the ground again and used to getting disappointed. But at a certain point, it cascades to the other side and you just almost can't believe it.
Yeah. Mr. One says, I have 5 gold and silver VeVe logos and not selling. I love the gifts each year. Got his 5th gold logo pin. Yeah, you're going to get to, you're going to San Diego, right?
Yes. I'm going to bring Mrs. Rain as well.
You're going to get to go on and give, get 5 years worth of gifts there of redeemables. You got that, Brett.
That's going to be fun.
So last night, I think, I was surfing the VeVe, and they happen to have a maintenance thing. They were down for like X amount of hours, however much hours. I went to bed, but not before I saw this little guy. It says no collectibles to display, and it's a cute little cat. Got a little cat in a yarn ball.
You were worried your account got drained?
No, I was just going and looking and just, oh, all right, that's strange. It's I guess because of the maintenance. And I just saw the cat. I was like, this cat has appeared multiple times in the stuff when there's no collectibles or when they get error 404. And I feel like they should make this cat a collectible, and the secret rare with the yarn, common like without the yarn. I feel like they want their own original IP. They're great at what they do, but they outside the VeVe logos and the VeVe dioramas the other week, they just don't have that much. And I feel like, why go over and let's say like Epico, and no shade to Epico, but they made characters of David, Dan, Eagle, and then Old Rhubarb, VeVe Magic, and my collectibles, and they sold out, and they made like $50,000 each drop, and VeVe has to they have to go in and share that revenue with Epico. But if they were to give like Foster, Dr. Profit, and Puddin' Cheeks, and they make it like an Akomi thing or a VeVe thing, they don't have to share that revenue with anyone. I feel like making their own IP is super important for the long term. Or do you think that might be like a waste of time now? It's like, we can make that later. There's always be time to make that later.
There is always time to make that later. The cat is a good idea, though. I like that idea.
Yeah, I feel like cats do already taken over the internet without even trying. What's up, Bill Gardner? How's it going, everybody? Everyone's in the house. So yeah, we had a 30 million OMI purchase on Stacker the other day for Secret Rare Miles Morales. It equated to like $6,100, $6,400. I forget the price of OMI at that time, but it was like $700 cheaper than it was on the app. But now I think people are getting a little wise to that, and you used to be able to get like a nice amount of percentage off, and now people are kind of wise to that, and they've kind of leveled out. Do you think that person that paid 30 million OMI for that Secret Rare Miles, do you think that's the Bitcoin pizza thing in OMI, or do you think like, well, at least he got a Miles, and that's going to do really well?
I think OMI is going to outperform the Miles, but the Miles is kind of a status symbol, right? There aren't very many of them. It is a freaking awesome collectible. I don't have one. Great pickup by him. So some people are more interested than the social flex than maximizing their dollar return. In that environment, Miles is going to be a huge social flex, like huge. So who knows? I think OMI will outperform dollar-wise, but we'll see. We'll see. Either one of them is a great one. It has, I think, a great exchange of $6,100 of value, either to OMI or to the Miles, is a great deal.
Agreed. One of the other conferences at NFC Summit was a guy who was talking about Web3 outpacing Web2 incumbents and how gaming so far is absolutely dominating Web3. Obviously, it's too late now. Like, they've already launched their VeVeverse, and that's great. There's no complaints about that. But do you think maybe they should have gone for a game first? Because gaming is... No, why not? Why not? Tell me the thought.
So game development is difficult. To have a game loop that's going to be good for people to actually want to play. So most game companies fail. That isn't their background. It wouldn't have been a good use of resources, in my opinion.
Okay. Now that we have the VeVeverse, do you think it would be important to try to put some games in there, or have some third party that already has a game say like, hey, if we have this type of VeVe collectible, if they have this, can they get a skin in your game? And if that's something that, I don't know which of those routes is easier for it to go to. What's up, Sean Berg? How's it going?
Say that question again. I'm asking my kids in the background to be quiet because they're making a whole bunch of noise behind me, and I have massive ADHD, so I get distracted easy.
I thought that was a dog. I thought it was going, oh.
Yeah, he was doing the dog sounds. Yeah,
it's great. So the question was: now that the VeVeverse is out, should they focus on putting a game in the VeVeverse, or having a third party that already has a game and saying like, hey, could we do something where if you have like this certain VeVe collectible, it's a skin in that game? This way they don't really have to develop anything.
I think it's better for them to partner with game developers, right? The skill sets are different. So it's kind of like asking somebody who's really good at this to build something they don't know.
Yeah.
That's going to go poorly. Now, if they're super well funded, they could bring game developers from the Web2 space to develop it. But sometimes when people try to force it, like, they don't do a good job. Do you notice for the longest time, movies that came from a book were terrible? Like,
Yeah.
oh, we have Aragon and it was a great selling book. Let's make a movie about it. And the movie just sucked. And so, I don't like somebody who's like a metaverse developer being like, yeah, let's just build a game. What's your experience in building games? Nothing, but let's do it. It's going to go poorly. So could they bring in talent that knows what they're doing? Yes. But if they interact, what would be cool is they open up for interoperability and they have 4 or 5 or 6 or 20 game developers trying to develop on a game on there. And then 1 or 2 of them end up being amazing. And then, cool, they have a game in the VeVeverse. They didn't have to develop it. They just made it accessible to them. And then those that are successful building it have a very popular game that hopefully the game maker makes a lot of money with their game. So they get rewarded for their hard work. And Those who made an unsuccessful game, well, sorry, nobody wants to play because it's boring. But VeVe didn't have to put all this money into it and take that risk.
I didn't hear this story, but King of the North says the highlight of the trip, of the Lisbon trip, was Doc screaming "America" when he hit the ball playing paddleball with Dr. Prophet's brother. That's hysterical. I didn't know he did that.
That's fun.
But shout out to Dr. Stuff for representing America. VeVe Viral had posted the crew that gave us Disney and DC NFTs, VeVeverse, OMI NFT, Cash Out, animated NFTs, drivable NFTs, AR readable Marvel comic NFTs, OMI circulating supply burns, master collector program, and in real events all over the globe. Now it has their eyes on self-custody. Sure, they take longer than desired, but boy, do they deliver. Self-custody is a big thing, and it's not the only thing they're working on. We mentioned self-custody before, but after that, what is the next thing that you think they probably should be allocating their resources towards?
Pokemon.
They posted that in the video. So there's a bunch of things that the vault builders had built, like in the VeVeverse, and they all look incredible. They're all so good that I wouldn't know which one to pick, because the one that I like the best had two Donnies at the front, and that's just such a flex. But like, if you're outside of the VeVe community, you're like, what is this weird horse? Like, you're not going to know what that is. But they chose one, I think it was Collector's Gone Digital, maybe, that happened to have a like Pokemon vending machine in there, and then had to actually say, like, just because, here's all the stuff that we have, here's like Tokidoki stuff, here's this, and then there's the Pokemon vending machine, and then he says, be advised, we don't have Pokemon, that's just there, some that somebody else brought into the system.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like, why pick that one where you have to put that line? I don't know.
I don't know. Like, until they have it and confirm it, it's like, I think that's a big deal. But like, interoperability, them working on that. Like, what we need from them is more great intellectual property. I would love to see more animations within their collectibles, too, and them having like different things that they can do. Like the Spider-Man can do I think a few different things. I would love to see that. What else could they do? Yeah, more voices, more like I picked up some of the Mysterio thing where he's got the fog going. I love the Dr. Octopus where he's got the legs going and stuff. I like those kind of animations. I'd like them to get more IP and make their IP, like, continue to expand what can be done with this stuff. Because I want them to be the #1 digital collectibles app in the future, right? So what I'm hoping is interoperability is part of that, because then imagine you can go to Disney's website and Disney's like, oh, wait, we can just create a page within our website so people can buy and sell our Disney VeVe items. Okay. Well, if it's so interoperable that it becomes that easy to do that, that would be amazing, because then sales could easily go through the roof. And Disney gets money every time they sell, so they would have an incentive to do it. Well, that kind of interoperability is a little ways out, maybe even a year or 2 or 3 or 4 out. But that's probably where things could go over time. What else could they do? More IP, cooler things that you could do with the IP, like driving the cars. I like how they brought that up. Maybe, if they did anything, they could do a racing game. Imagine if they did a racing game and they gave stats to all those cars. Oh boy, that'd be great.
They could have some fun with that, because we have pod racers now as well, and they've been pod racers versus, like, although I'm not gonna lie, if they're bringing like anything that's drivable or rideable, if I have like my ultra rare Aston Martin lose to like a Tokidoki, I don't think I'd be able to take that. I'd have to give away my man card and be like, all right, this little pink horse beat me, so I'm gonna retire from gaming now. Anyway, Red Rooster says, where can I buy OMI? Currently for Americans, Coinbase Wallet, Uniswap. But for non-Americans, Mexi, Gate.io, OKX is probably the largest one. And Deep Coin, I've never heard of that, but that usually has like 30 to 40% of the entire volume of OMI for, like each day. So wherever Deep Coin is, shout out to them. Lorenzo, if you're not buying at these prices, I don't know what more you want. Agreed. So there's a lot of money that's going to be thrown into this space. Circle IPO the other day. I think they were going to plan to go live at like a $7 billion market cap. And they ended, I think, Friday at a $22 billion market cap, which is like their first quarter, they did, I think, 65 million in Q1 of this year. And they'll probably do more as the year goes on. But if you just take that and multiply it by 4 for their net profits, that's 100x earnings that they're valued at, which is bananas. And if you take what VeVe's likely to do, over the next 12 to 18 months, you give them 100x earnings, they'd be worth multiple billions of dollars. At that point, who would you want them to take money from? Like in the DEVVE roundup the other day, Will Stewart had said, any Yahoo can raise, millions of dollars, but do you get the resources of the company that gives you that money, or is it just a nameless VC or a nameless company? So if they're going to get resources from someone, who's it better to get it from? Is it Microsoft? Is it Apple? Is it Tesla? Is it like who would you want them to sell a piece of the company to?
Yeah, hopefully somebody with big connections and big name, like Sony or I don't know, Disney, other potential brands like that just have huge international reach. So a lot of times when you're looking to sell a piece of the company, there's number one, what is the money they're going to give you, but what is the value add? And they talked about that in the DEVVE roundup, right? With Will Stewart, who has a lot of experience helping raise funds to the tune of billions of dollars for companies that were becoming some giants. And he's like, not only how much money you're raising, but who is it with and what's the value add? So like, obviously Disney would be a value add. Come on, DC, step up, buy a piece of VeVe in the bull market. So, you've got more incentive to integrate all your stuff with them. That'd be great. Sony. Yeah. Big names like that.
Preach. Sketch Lab saying I'm interested to see over the long term how the demand for these collectibles will be should things like Meta AR glasses become a bit more mainstream or common. I think Meta and Apple are the ones that are like super competing now for, I think it's gonna be late 2026. So for someone like Dr. Profit that's got multiple businesses and multiple streams of revenue, you don't care if you wait till like 2035, your stuff's gonna go crazy one day. It's like buying Apple stock in like 2000. Sure, in 2002 you'd net like a 40% loss, but 18 years later, 2022, you'd have millions of dollars. But I think that regardless of how far along Apple and Meta glasses take, I think that it's not going to matter in the short term over the next 12 months when that blow off top happens. See Raul Powell talking about NFTs all the time. When do we have that? I don't know, but we'll see. Yeah, we've got that Akomi logo, secret rare.
Two of them.
You got 2?
Yeah, I bought 2 of them.
Sweet, it's epic. A buddy of mine had posted the other day about some of the grails being at pretty low prices. He had gotten a bunch of Uncanny X-Men Volume 1 for under $3, only 585 in circulation. And the time he sent that to me, it was $70. I know, like, everyone wants a secret rare, MC1. But a lot of the commons of the MC1s are going to be more liquid because as these prices go up, the secret rare is going to be worth tens of thousands of dollars, where the commons might be worth 100. So there's a lot more people that could get an MC1 common as opposed to secret rare. However, that does take a lot of time. If you have 100 commons of something, you have to sit there and click all of them. Brain, what is it? Is that worth your time to go and get hundreds of copies of these Grail commons? Or is it like, I'll take less gains if it means I have to spend less time clicking buttons?
I usually make sense to get the commons. That way you can take profits as it goes crazy. Or so say you were to buy one secret rare versus 50 commons, and say the price is the same. Well, then as things go crazy, you can take profits on the commons along the way, and even hold a few that you don't end up selling. The secret rare, you can guess when to sell that one, right? You have a hard time taking profits on the. Well, yeah. Now, some people just want to hold it because they want that Grail, and that's a different story. If you just want that Grail, it's a social flex down the road, then you're really not there for the investment purposes. You're there for the social flex and the coolness of it. And then in that case, the secret rare makes sense. And get a few commons. Maybe someday you'll be able to sell those few commons for what you paid for the secret rare, and then you got the secret rare for free.
True. Jason Payne says, question for Rain. I'm guilty of moving the TP goal post as my bags pump. How strict are you as approach major TP zones? What's psychology, my bruh? Thanks for being a member. And what is TP? Take profit? Yeah.
All right. Take profit zones. Yeah. So this one's a hard one. Where should your take profit zones be? Well, that's up to you. I'm not going to tell you where to put them. Everyone's got to decide that for themselves. My take profit zones really come down to when literally I just listen. When sentiment goes crazy in something I hold, I start taking profits. So when it's just blasting off like crazy, I take some profits. And so sometimes too, I'll roll money out where I'm not truly taking profits. For example, one of the things that I bought over the bear market was AOS. AOS went crazy last year, like absolutely nuts. So did it hit my take profit zones? Near the end, it did. But like I had already sold a bunch. Why did I sell a bunch? It wasn't at my take profit zones. I sold a bunch because OMI was still way, way down and AOS was like way, way up. And so I was like, well, shoot, it's not my full take profit zone, but it's done at 50x and OMI's down like by 90% from where things were before. I'm going to sell my AOS and buy a whole bunch of OMI. And then AOS went up even farther. And I was like, okay, so no. Like happens in the bear market, AOS is corrected way, way down again. But I sold all mine at amazing prices, right? And I was able to get more OMI that way. So near the end, I did hit like my first take profit zone. By then, I was settling all my AOS. Why is that? Well, because for some reason, their narrative hit really strong in the bear market. And that's what I like about diversification. I was able to then roll that into way more OMI, which is where most of it went. Some of it into Definity. And it was really cool. So now AOS, it just hit my radar. It's like, why is AOS going crazy right now? It's like, oh, they're in the AI narrative now and AI is going crazy. It's like, okay, everyone's talking about AOS. It's time to sell. Like when I see major channels covering it, time to sell, not time to buy more. That is sell time, not buy more. When you see major YouTube channels on crypto covering things, it is not time to buy them. You're late to the party. Hopefully you had already bought them so you can now start exiting positions.
Agreed. Good calls. Mr. MC1 posted about Lisbon saying that people love getting 100,000 OMI just for signing up. Is this something that you think they should continue at? I mean, they have enough in their business development wallet, and even outside the business development wallet, in their own personal wallets. I think that's a pretty fair trade-off for signing someone up and then them using that to buy a collectible or a few. Or is that like too much OMI going into the...
That's a fun promotion, right? I don't think people realize what a big deal that's going to end up being. Yeah, like 100,000 OMI. For now, it seems like, oh, that's not worth very much. Like it's true right now. You can get so much OMI. What is it? $200 roughly for 1 million OMI. That's crazy. So that's $20 worth of OMI. But these people don't realize the value they're getting out of that. They're going to find out later. Oh my gosh. One day they're going to be checking. They're going to be like, oh my gosh, my OMI is worth $5,000 that I got for free. Holy cow. So like, it's a big deal that they did that. And some people are going to have their lives completely blessed and they don't even realize or understand it yet.
That's, do you think when people get that and they spend it on a couple of comics, do you think that's like a future, like Bitcoin pizza thing? Where they'll be like, oh my God, my friend that I helped sign up, he's got $5,000 and I have nothing. I have these 3 comics.
Hopefully those 3 comics at least to some value increase, but chances are the OMI will do better.
Yeah, agreed. So we had a spike in usership over this weekend, I think partly because of the signups, but also some old whales. I don't think this guy would have said anything unless he had already thought. The Modern Investor, which he's been making videos for years, got 250,000 followers over on YouTube, like 30-ish thousand over on X. He said, should I be buying OMI again? Is anything happening with the project? I feel like he wouldn't have said that unless he had already actually gotten in. What are your thoughts about, one, having people come in that they kind of get scared and they kind of sell off, or 2, like it doesn't matter, like we'll take the volume, we'll take it. Just what are your thoughts, I guess, on him?
He's smart to be asking that question right now because the price is way down. Hopefully he is buying it. Look, most people don't end up buying anywhere near the bottom because they need confirmation from everyone else that's the right thing to do, and they only do that when there's massive green candles. So if he's smart, he'll load up at these prices. Now, there was this experiment done, and this is just human psychology. So unfortunately, most people have this instinct. They have to follow the herd. They cannot think for themselves because they're too scared to. So they won't buy until they see everyone else buying. And I wish you could easily untrain that in people, but they did this experiment to see how many people would just follow along with the crowd rather than do something that they're pretty sure is right. So they sat people in a room and they would have one guy who was the actual subject of the experiment, and they would have 9 actors come in. So there's 10 people in the room. Then you would have a doctor with a lab coat and stuff walk in, and he would hold up a yellow card, and then he would go down the road to where the actual person they're doing the test on is the last person in there. And one by one, the people would all tell him that the color of the card was red. Do you know when they got to the 10th person they were doing the experiment on, that almost always that person said the card was red, even though they could see that it was yellow? Now, why would they do that? They're too scared to not follow the crowd. So why do people never buy when it's cheap? Well, there are some people that buy when it's cheap, but they're probably the same people that would say, no, that card's yellow, not red. Why? Because they're not scared to make their own independent assessment. They don't look it around, make sure everyone else is doing the same thing before they buy it. Unfortunately, this is why so many people get wrecked in crypto. They literally buy high, hoping it goes higher, and it dumps on them. Why? Because they're buying right near the top after everyone's saying it's great to buy now, and all the big YouTube crypto channels are covering it. Like, oh my gosh, OMI's up, it's 10 cents. Buy more OMI. Well, they won't usually say buy more OMI, but they're like, yeah, I just got in myself. That is not the time to buy. Those big YouTube crypto channels, they're not good investors. They probably will be buying at 10 cents. That is not the time to be buying OMI. That is the time to be taking profits. If it hits 10 cents, you are way too late to the game. And so hopefully you bought it when it was somewhere cheap around here that you could look at it, do your own independent assessment, and be like, that card's not red, it's yellow. Oh, So everyone else is scared to buy OMI. Why? I mean, VeVe's crushing it. They're doing great things. Okay, it's gone down for 3 years. That's good. I like buying cheap. One of the key principles of making money on investments is buy low, sell high. Okay, the price has gone down for 3 years. That means it's really, really low. What if it never turns around? Why? Why wouldn't it turn around? What if there's no altcoin crypto bull run this time? Yes, there's going to be an altcoin crypto bull run this time. What if the sun doesn't come up tomorrow? You know, like there's no guarantees the sun won't come up tomorrow, but the chances are extremely high that once again, I know there was naysayers in 2021. It's like, there's not going to be an altcoin run. Oh my gosh, no, it's just going to be Bitcoin and ETH and nothing else. They were wrong. People saying that again this time, and they're wrong. So why isn't OMI going to go up? Chances are extremely high, like 97% in my opinion. OMI's going to go crazy. Cool. Some people can't make that independent assessment. They need to wait till all the crypto YouTube channels and all their friends are saying, OMI's amazing. I just picked some up at 2 cents and now it's worth 10 cents. I'm rich. It's like, no, you're not rich. You only made a 5X. But congratulations. I hope you're selling now. They're like, no, I just bought more. I sold my house to buy more OMI at 10 cents. It's like, oh my gosh, what the hell are you doing? You know, the rest of us will be taking profits and then taking more profits in those price ranges. Why? Because what goes massively up does come back down.
Agreed. Sketch, I don't know if we can get, you should be able to, because it's in Unity, you should be able to do that. I don't know if they're just going to come out with like a how-to video on that, but maybe. We'll see. We'll see. Right. I like your story about the study that they did with the guy that basically got gaslit into thinking, oh yeah, maybe it's red. It reminds me of a little current event that happened recently where Subway came out with like a press release, not even press release, but they're marketing a foot long as an item that's meant for 2 people. It's like, and as always, we have our foot long meant for 2 people. And I feel like they're trying to gaslight the entire world by saying an item that was clearly always meant for 1 person is now for 2 people. And I'm just a little salty about that. So
that's funny. My wife only eats half a foot long.
That's why she looks like that. If I had that restraint, I have to get the back fixed first, and then I'll how to get it.
She only eats like half of a foot long. The truth is, she this. Like, what have you eaten today? Oh, eating. I forgot. Nothing. What? Yeah, I don't know why my hand is shaking. Because you haven't eaten today.
Dude, I swear, like girls are like that. They'll have like soda and like candy and be like, "Oh, my head hurts." Yeah. Have you drank water today? And no.
Yeah, she just doesn't think about eating sometimes, and I'm like, oh gosh, I don't have that problem.
Yeah. So we do have a bit of a flex here. Mr. MC1 saying VeVe does have the biggest whales among all branded IP projects, lots of them, and they're active in various types of collecting. It says that, you know, there is no Dr. Profit equivalent of any other projects. Like there's no Dr. Profit of Elmon X. There's no Dr. Profit of, you know, Cryptoys. You know, he's here. Neither Dr. Fuse, Rolex, King Mavs, Mr. 41. Yeah, that's a good point. There is no other one.
Well, so VeVe is not just in first place; they're massively in first place, and they built a community that these other companies would die for. They haven't been able to replicate. They haven't been able to tie into, and so like Sanjay's right there. Like they've attracted people, and Sanjay's been part of helping retain them. Sanjay, kudos to you. I'm so glad. You know, you've taken your experience and what you know, and you've been able to reach the VeVe team with some of your ideas because they've been golden. And it's helped not only retain some of those whales, but I think increase the number of whales that have come in and put in massive amounts to tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars, which is a big deal because it's helped, I don't know, make these flexes a big deal. Helps make the first people to reach level 100 a really big deal. And Sanjay's been behind some of those ideas of making that a big deal, and they were fantastic ideas.
Breach. So there's a Sean Berg who I think is up here. Is he? No, maybe he's not. Maybe I missed him. Anyway, he posted the other day about on the VeVe Facebook saying the floor difference from VeVe to Stacker is stark sometimes, and he talks about Silver Surfer. I'm sorry. Is it? Yeah, Silver Surfer number 3, which is the first appearance of Mephisto, and how a CGC 9.8 of that comic sold for like $94,000. And he's like, did you know you can get that on VeVe? And he has like this kind of like flex post where he's like, yeah, I may have gone into it just a little bit. And he has like 154 copies of that. Now, do you see little Chavez down there with 25? I thought I had a nice stack, but yeah, that made me feel pretty insignificant. It's like, damn, he had a lot more than I did. Anyway, there's a couple of other ones that I feel like the first appearance or the first edition of like Silver Surfer number 1. Then you have the Captain America number 1. There's a few of those that we don't have yet. Do you have any extra gems stocked away for a rainy day? Okay, this is for in case something great comes out on the market, and this is for in case we have one of these grails and I could try to mint like 10 of them, or is it just like, nah, it's all crypto right now?
So I have a gem problem in that when I have gems, there's so much stuff on VeVe that I spend it. And I usually have delayed gratification in just about everything. When I have gems on the app and I see like certain collectibles going for ridiculously dumb prices, I just spend them on the collectibles. But I can always load up more, right? If there's something that I want, yeah, like I can load up more and buy them. And that's what I've been doing. I've been buying a lot of collectibles, a lot of more comics lately. So, yeah, if I see something I want, I just load up more money into there so I can buy it.
Agreed. It's one thing when GameStop buys Bitcoin or when Metaplanet buys Bitcoin, because they're not really in like they're in finance, they're a business, but they're not in precious metals, they're not in commodities. So like it doesn't raise any red flags. But when you have somebody, because like Peter Schiff, like who's Mr. Gold and Silver, is like the stark like opponent of Bitcoin or any type of crypto. But when you have a mining company, specifically Bluebird is a gold mining company, and what are they doing with their profits now? Well, 63% of their revenues are going into Bitcoin, and like it's not to reinvest in the gold company. I mean, some of it is, you have to pay bills, whatever, but 63% is going into buying Bitcoin. What type of precedent do you think that sets for the rest of the commodities markets, for the rest of just crypto in general? You have these stark opponents that should hate Bitcoin, but I think they see it's better,
They're diversifying their risk, right? So they're very smart. And a lot of this comes from, what's his name? Michael Saylor. And this idea of taking a company that has revenues, taking those revenues and using it to buy Bitcoin. In fact, sometimes borrowing against those revenues to buy more Bitcoin. Now, that is probably going to create a house of cards, and that like some people are doing it, and the early ones that do it, great. They're going to benefit massively. The ones who come late to the game and they're buying on leverage, they're going to lose their whole company. They're going to get liquidated at some point, because what does go up massively, and I think we will have a super cycle. I say chances are pretty good. It's over 50% that we'll have a super cycle this bull run, in my opinion. And if we do have a super cycle, Bitcoin's going to go to 250, maybe even 500,000. And you'll see all these companies borrowing to buy Bitcoin at that price. But what goes up massively does come down massively. And you'll see some companies get liquidated. And it'll bring the price of Bitcoin way, way down. So some of these gold companies doing that now, buying Bitcoin at 100,000, they're going to benefit. Especially if they take profits, if it goes to 250 or 500,000. I think when it does come down, I think it bottoms out at like 60, 70, 80,000. So as long as they've taken profits, if they're buying it now at like 110 or whatever, as long as they take profits when it goes crazy, they'll still be right side up. We'll see how this plays out.
Whenever a company makes a declaration like that, it gets retweeted by like Watcher Guru, Ash Crypto, Mario Nawful, like everyone covers it. Do you think that just for the marketing, VeVe put out a statement or a press release saying that like we're going to take a fraction of or a portion of our profits and have a Bitcoin reserve, even if it's just 1%? You know, they don't actually say how much it would be, and then it gets picked up by like, oh, the largest digital collectibles company in the world says a portion of their proceeds are going to go to creating a Bitcoin reserve. Again, even if it's just 1%, I feel like the type of marketing they get from that, probably worth it.
Good question. You're talking about using Bitcoin with that money or buying more OMI with that money?
Just saying that if VeVe were to come out with a statement or a press release, say like, we're going to now use a portion of our profits to make a Bitcoin reserve for the company. They don't have to say exactly what amount. It could be as little as 1% or even less. But I think just by saying that, Watcher Guru will pick it up and Ash Crypto Real and
get some press out of that, right? So that wouldn't be a bad idea to do, and it probably wouldn't be bad ROI on it rather than sitting on the cash. It depends on what their cash situation looks like, but
yeah,
sure, throw 1% of the revenues in it and take the marketing bump you get out of that, and then take profits on the Bitcoin when it hits 160,000. Take some more if it hits 250 and 400, and then buy some back when it comes back down. Some people are like, it'll never come back down. What goes up massively does come down massively. Just how it works.
If the burn is at 2%, which I am not 100% sure it is, but if it was, yeah, 28 million. And then is that the price now? 0.025? Yeah, you would have had 110 billion. That would have been correct. What's up, Omar? How's it going? Yeah, shoulda, coulda, woulda, Turtle. I wish that would have been awesome, because again, that would have created a lot of buy pressure on it. And again, we'll do
so much buy pressure. They wouldn't have burned that much because of the price would have gone up a bunch, but still, like it would have put a ton of price pressure on it.
Yeah, agreed. I don't know how much you pay attention to any type of Disney stuff, do you? Outside of VeVe?
No.
So they did it with Dapper Labs. They have a thing called Disney Perks. And on Disney Perks, it's when you sign up for or sign into Disney Plus, the first thing you see is like, oh, hey, here's our new perks that we're giving. Here's the link. And one of the things that they do is they give you, I think, $10 in credits for Dapper Labs. So you could pick up a pin for their Disney Pinnacle. But that's specifically for Dapper Labs Disney Pinnacle. They also give you, outside of that, sweepstakes entries to win a 4-night stay on a Disney cruise, discounts on Adidas, Funko, and Loungefly, all three of which would sell Disney IP licensed products, 6-month trial to DoorDash, which is wild, and discounts on stays at Disney World. So there was a lot of people that this created a lot of FUD. Were saying like, oh, why couldn't VeVe get this? You know, David dropped the ball. And it is possible that that's what happened. I think it's also equally possible that, because if we're going by Turtle's math here, if VeVe had, was it 35 million in revenue, but we'll just take the 1.4 billion, and obviously not all of that is Disney. Let's say half of that is Disney related stuff, or even a third. 466 million, and you times it by 0.06, that's $28 million that Disney would have gotten from the secondary market over the last couple of years, which is not an insignificant amount. I mean, is it insignificant compared to like the billions they make on movies? Sure, but I'd take the 28 million. Anyway, I think it's very possible that Disney said, hey, all of these, like Dapper Labs doesn't make us a ton of money. These other places, they don't make us a ton of money. And if we get people to stay on a Disney cruise, they'll spend money on that cruise. They'll spend money on, drinks and food and whatever. I think it's possible that Disney holds VeVe in such high esteem that they didn't want to roll out a new product in case it had bugs or in case it didn't have something. I feel like they'd want to make it perfect, because you don't want to go and say, hey, is this brand new thing? We don't know how people are going to react to it. We don't know the kinks in it, what we could do better, what mistakes we might make. And then after this, they know what works, they know what doesn't work. Then they roll out a better product or a better perk for VeVe. Now that might be moon boyish, but I feel like that does make some sense. Let me know how you interpret that.
Well, they are seeing, I think the revenues that they've made are nothing compared to what they're going to make, because in the bull run, prices go way up. Like Bored Ape Yacht Club didn't make very much money when they sold their things, and they sold them for like $500 worth of ETH. 0.08 ETH at the time was about $400 or $500. What really made them money was when the price of Bored Apes went to $100,000 or $400,000, and every sale that happened, they got a royalty fee of, I don't remember, like 5% or something. So something sells for 400,000. They get 5% of that. They're getting 20 grand for that changing hands. So in a bull market, I think some of these Disney collectibles go crazy. In Marvel and Disney, you can start seeing these royalty checks come in. They're going to be like, holy cow. Okay, whatever we're doing with VeVe, let's augment it. Let's figure out. Let's allocate more budget to doing more with VeVe. These guys are crushing it. And then you're going to see maybe more like interoperability. It will really, like, whoever made the decisions to partner with VeVe and stuff, they'll get rewarded. Be like, great decision, promotions for you. How do we augment this?
Good call. DZ Tenant asking, was Dr. Papa's news about framework for making VeVe NFTs immortal talked about yet? I did not get that. Did you hear about immortal stuff?
I heard him talking a little bit about that, like in New York. Some ideas. I don't know how far along, other than he wanted to find ways to make them immortal. So I don't know what's come about as far as his ideas. It's significantly down the road from there. So maybe he has some good ideas about how to get them hosted, essentially, so that they're immortal for forever, which is a good problem to be solving.
It is a good problem to solve. Crazy Dan 420, thanks for being a member. In 1 hour, you'll have completed the 72-hour water fast. Started on Saturday. Feels good. Not hungry. Went into ketosis. Lost 14 pounds. God damn.
Dang. Nice.
Impressed. Something that Elon Musk said that every now and then I think about. It says it's often the most ironic scenario is the one that happens. On this day, 10 years ago, and some change, like a couple days, I was playing with the new Pokemon Fusion app, where you could take a Pokemon and another Pokemon and use them together. And I chose Mr. Mime and Staryu. And again, this is from 2015. Mr. Mime and Staryu create Mr. U. And I thought that was really really cool. That I was like, oh, seeing that now, it's like, yeah, I feel like maybe that was me from the future sending myself in the past something to follow this man. I don't know.
Manifested it. Yes.
Yeah. I think that's I thought that was pretty funny. So that's a wrap on Lisbon. As said by Akomi, they were shouting out everyone, welcome to all the new users and all that jazz. How do you follow this up? Apparently this was, epic parties. How do you follow it up in San Diego, New York, etc.? How do you keep the momentum going?
Well, we're heading more into the bull market, so we'll have Bitcoin going up more, and so excitement. So everyone's felt for the last 3 years what it feels like when prices just go down and down and down. You'll start to feel some momentum with Bitcoin going up, and it will bring excitement. It will bring new people to VeVe, and probably we're going to be on an upward trend. Sure, OMI could go down from here. I think VeVe collectibles have bottomed out, and they're going to start an upward trend from here. OMI, I don't know. It's so dirt cheap. It's amazing. It's crazy. It's even at this price. I would say 70% chance OMI is bottom too, but we'll see. And at a certain point, that trend starts going up, and that just generates momentum. Because then people, what's funny is, even though people haven't taken profits, when they put some money in and it goes up in value, it gets them excited as can be. When they put some money in, it goes down in value, even though it's not time to sell. They're just like, oh, I'm so depressed. When it's really down the road, when people are just cascading into OMI, it's the time to sell. But as much as it's been going down for 3 years, there will be a bottom point, and then it'll start going up, and the momentum, the excitement will just build and build and build, literally just from the price action, with the collectibles too. So like, I stocked up on a whole bunch of the Mandalorian #1 comments, and I was able to buy them like $10, $20, $30. Last I checked, they were selling for like $1.70 to $2. And I was like, oh, cool, they're up. Like, it's not my take profit time to sell those. But like, some point down the road, people start noticing their vault value and the collectibles that they were buying. Oh my gosh, the floor is 40% higher than what I bought these at. Then they'll start telling their friends. That will get their friends' attention. Their friends will start buying some, and the cascade begins.
Soon. There's for sentiment, I mean, I always see futters. I feel like I tend to attract some of them. So my experience might be a little different than others, but I've seen a lot less FUD over the last like week. I think the fact that they're starting to mention OMI like quite a lot, I think that's helping. And I've seen people celebrating things that, I mean, you should always celebrate little wins. Like, somebody the other day is like, I'm level 40, and it's like, and I don't know, maybe they started like a year ago, 2 years ago, and that happened really quickly. But it's nice to see people celebrating the little things. You have House of Bane saying, I finally passed the 1 million MCP mark, marks 4 years, level 60, 6 million OMI, gold and silver logo, and VeVe affiliate, taking a balanced and tempered approach to all projects. I again, might be the moon boyish in me, but I think that sentiment is really turning. What have you seen? Do you really pay attention to sentiment, or it doesn't matter to you because you know what's going to happen and that type of stuff you ignore?
Yeah, I barely pay attention to sentiment till all of a sudden that sentiment goes crazy. I do look at the fundamentals. Like, someone was asking, what's going on with Bumper? Is Bumper still a good investment? First of all, Doggo, I'm not going to tell you if something is a good investment for you, because I don't know your situation. I don't make decisions for you. Do I like Bumper? Yes and no. I wish we had more engagement from the team. Is Bumper dead? No, the team's still alive, as far as I can tell, still working. It's at a risky point because they're in low flow mode. I hope they survive the bear market until the bull market, and I think they will. And if that happens, then gosh, the price is abysmally low. Look at what OMI's price was. OMI wasn't too different from this point 4.5 years ago. In November 2020, before the bull market, VeVe had launched their app, but app sales hadn't really been happening. So Bumper's launched their product, and it's not really getting used a lot. So it's in this crisis mode of, oh my gosh, and they're kind of waiting for the bull run to see if their app gets used, because they're really not making revenues unless their app is getting used. So they've had to enter low flow mode, and they're communicating less. And that is a risky point of the company. If they survive, the price will do incredible. The reason the price has gone down because people are worried and people get scared. That's what happens. So is Bumper goodbye? Maybe. Do I have a bunch? Yes. Have I sold any of mine at these prices? No. Have I bought more? No, because I have so much. Would I, if I didn't have so much? Yes. I'd put in $200, $500, $1,000, $2,000, which for me isn't a huge chunk. And should you? I have no idea if you should. So I'm holding Bumper to 0 or hero. Bill Gardner, me too. 0 or hero. One of those two things will happen. Go to 0, or it'll go amazing, and I'll have a fun story to tell. Either way, it'll be great. I put about 100,000 into Bumper, so it's not like I have a big stake in it doing well.
God damn. I saw your video, or part of your video with Paul on, I think, on Wednesday and last Wednesday or Thursday, Friday. What day did you do that?
Wednesday.
Oh, okay, it was Wednesday. You talked a bit about it.
Another one.
Yeah. You talked a bit about that, and I was like, okay, yeah, it's still there, it's still kicking, and until they throw out that white flag, it's still alive, and you have that chance. And oh god, if I get adopted.
And I think it'll survive and do well, but like OMI's probability to survive from here is much higher. Now, Bumper could outperform OMI if it does survive and get some traction, but OMI's risk of failing from here, I'd say, is very, very low. I'd be shocked. I don't even know what could kill it other than the founders get arrested for who knows what kind of scandal. So, like, I don't think OMI fails from here. Bumper is the risk of they run out of capital, they completely and can't pay their people and file for bankruptcy or close the business down. That's a risk. This is early stage business investing, and not every crypto company, even when they have an amazing team and amazing idea, survives. So that's the risk.
If Bumper survives and gets adopted, it will 100% outperform OMI. Like, what is it, like a $400,000 bar? Yeah, 100x takes it to 40 million, and it's still that if it survives, gets stopped, it'll go crazy.
Yeah, it could like 10,000x from here, right? Will it? We'll see. We're gonna find out one way or the other. Go to zero or go to hero, but one of those two things.
Speaking of daunting tasks, I saw a stat the other day. So India hasn't counted their population. They haven't done a census in like a decade, and they have like estimates on what they're doing and of what their population actually is. But they had to hire 2.7 million people to help carry out the census because they just have so many people. And it was like, oh my god, that's so nuts. Yeah, it's impossible. I wonder if, well, anyway, Akomi had posted the other day, with fiat onboarding platform sponsored gas fees, acquiring and utilizing OMI to purchase VeVe official on Stacker World. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Every digital collectible purchase burns OMI. Akomi has been doing really well as far as posting every day, or at least every other day, about this. Is there any particular way they should go? Like, that is very simple, but there's only so many times you can post that particular thing. Should it be videos on how to buy OMI? Should it be people scrolling and like they screen capture it on the differences between the prices on VeVe and the prices on Stacker? What type of posts should they be making that will make people follow them?
Well, Akomi's not the only one that can do this. So Akomi, as long as they put out the walkthroughs on how to do things the proper way, that's what I love that they do. So Foster does a good job of putting those kind of videos out. So when I want to do something and I know I want to do it the right way, I go to Foster videos if he's done one. If not, it's like I'll look at who else has done it. But like other content creators can and will be creating that. What happens is prices starts to go up. People get excited enough, they start their own YouTube channel, and then to get traction, they start showing how to do all these things. So that's going to show up sooner or later, whether Akomi does videos on it or not. So it's like, as long as Foster is putting out videos on like new walkthroughs as they come up, where there's new things that kind of need a walkthrough on how to do it, I think he's pretty on top of that. So like the other stuff, the arbitrage stuff, that's something for somebody with a YouTube channel to cover that's trying to show value. They're trying to get some traction on their channel, show how sometimes you can buy it off Stacker for a lot cheaper than the gem value. And the other thing, especially if you see OMI's price go down, then all of a sudden, you can buy a bunch of OMI for really cheap, and you can end up getting the collectible item for cheaper than you would on the app.
There's every time somebody mentions something about base, and there's people that like make base like their whole personality, like base maxi, build on base, and they have PFPs and whatever. I always try to go in and say, like, never, even if whatever they're talking about is just like, bro, what is this? If it's not something that I'd invest in, but like, hey, this looks really cool, or like, this looks really fun. I love base too. And then I tag Akomi, I tag VeVe, I like post a picture, and I do all that stuff. There was a raid group that was created, and it was taken out because like nobody was raiding. I've seen raid groups be effective. At least they are on me. If people come in and they're talking about like squid growth, talking about whatever, I'm like, okay, let's see what it's about. and I just give in. Is that a tactic that you would deploy? Saying like, yeah, we should have a raid group, and anyone that talks anything about base, we rate it and we say like, yeah, the base is awesome. We love a Comey because they're building on base and tag VeVe and all that. Or does that get annoying after a while? Or it's like,
some people will probably do that, especially as things are going well for OMI token. Will I ever participate in that? No, never. I don't have time. Like, I'm so picky on my time. My wife gives me crap all the time. She's like, "Oh my gosh, you're so picky about your time." It's like, I am. That is the one thing we have huge control over. So, like, will I ever participate in that? I don't have the time for that. No. Will other people find it fun to do? Yes, they'll get some value out of doing it. They'll find it fun and they'll do it.
So this is one of those, I brought my charger down here to charge my tablet, but I forgot to plug it in. Okay. You mentioned super cycle, and the longer you look at it, the more you think it may or may not happen. So I did some digging about, at least as far as Bitcoin goes, saying like, okay, there's all of these companies that are doing, or they're claiming they're buying like millions and billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. And, like, who's selling? Why aren't we going crazy? And Josh Mandel, there's two Josh Mandels, but the one that people mistake for like a time traveler, he said short sellers of IBIT, for example, are creating paper Bitcoin, saying this happens through operational short selling, where market makers borrow ETF shares and then short them while the fund itself holds real Bitcoin. And the result is that more claims on Bitcoin there are than actual coins. And the coins that were originally purchased when the shares were bought for the first time, when a short seller borrows shares and sells them short, it's essentially selling the same shares again. No extra coins are required in the process. The buyer of those short sold shares might assume Bitcoin is being bought on the open market, but that's not the case. One thing he liked about Bitwise ETF shares is when he bought into Bitwise shares, he could see the actual buys go through. They're reported that day. But when you have all these people shorting, they're going to have to sell at some point. When Bitcoin goes lower, cool, they could buy there, good for them. If it goes higher, it sucks for them, but they still have to buy. And this is the type of thing that happened with GameStop. This is the type of thing that happened with Tesla, where there were so many people shorting. Where GameStop had actually happened, where there were more shorts than there were actual stocks available, and people just kind of screwed them. If this happens and you see the same type of thing, GameStop went from like $9 to like $75. And I'm not saying Bitcoin does like an 8x like they did, but I think a 3 or 4x isn't outside of the realm of possibility. It's unlikely, but what happens?
A big cascade up. People that are shorting Bitcoin right now are crazy, because as the Fed lowers interest rates, more money is going to come into assets, risk on assets, and crypto being one of the main ones of those. You'll see these countries starting sovereign wealth funds going into Bitcoin. You're already seeing that. You'll see the US. And as the price goes higher, there'll be more pressure to buy it. So it's like these big players shorting it, they're going to pay a heavy price, like if they don't get out of those shorts in time.
Agreed.
Like they did with GameStop. And if there hadn't been some government intervention, some of those billion-dollar companies would have went out of business, completely defunct.
Yeah. There's I can't wait. Not that I take pleasure in seeing people lose their money, like, with shorts, but I just can't wait for the high Bitcoin prices and then see where that goes. You mentioned that if it goes to a certain price, Bitcoin, that whatever you think certain altcoins would do, like let's say in a normal cycle, a random altcoin would go like a 5x or a 10 or 20x. But you said if Bitcoin goes crazy and we have the super cycle, you could do like another 5x on top of that. It's just hard for us to see that happening, because there's just a lot of money that goes into it. And what the science behind that, I get it, like more money flows in, but at that point, don't people want to just put it in something safe and say like, okay, as all this happens, let's put it into like T-bills or just keep it in Bitcoin? why would a ton of money flow? Why would more than a normal amount of money flow into alts, as opposed to, because if people buy what's hot and people buy those green candles, I feel like a lot of newer people would buy into that Bitcoin or ETH or Solana or whatever.
Well, that's the case some people are making as to why alts will never run, right? Oh, this time they won't run. There's 10 million different alts created, and so those aren't going to run. It's like the ones with strong fundamentals were. What happens is people look closer at what Bitcoin is as the price goes higher. They start researching what is Bitcoin really, and they find out this combination of cryptographic encryption with a distributed ledger or blockchain allows the internet to do things it couldn't do before. And they have this epiphany. Business people have this epiphany. Oh my gosh, this is going to allow the internet to do all these new things. What are the companies pioneering that? So then all of a sudden, because the awareness that happened, because Bitcoin's price went up, they're like, holy F, I need to invest in these companies. So then their prices start to rise in these fundamentally sound altcoin projects, because they aren't necessarily selling their Bitcoin so much as the high Bitcoin price caused an awareness gap of like, wait, something's going on here. I need to look further. And then they wake up to this digital space that's been going on for forever, and they just haven't paid attention, didn't know it was happening. And they have this epiphany moment, like, holy crap, digital collectibles going digital, of course. Oh my gosh, how did I not see this earlier? Oh my gosh, what's the token associated with this VeVe company? Oh my gosh, $200,000 deployed into OMI token, and it pumps some, and then like then other people come in, and then OMI goes crazy. And then some people start buying OMI just because they heard their friends made so much money on it. They don't know anything about it. They don't understand VeVe or anything. They're just buying it because their friend made 5x on it. And so then the cascade continues into the alts. And the people that say there's not going to be an altcoin, they just don't know what they're talking about. Fundamentally strong alts where they're actually innovating in the digital space, allowing the internet to do things it could not do before blockchain cryptographic encryption. Yes, they are going to run, because as people look deeper at the space and realize, oh my gosh, this unlocks these things the internet can do for faster and cheaper than ever before, they will get tons of investment pouring into them. Things like DEVVE, things like Bumper. Bumper survives. Oh my gosh, Bumper has an amazing innovation. So if they survive, that innovation is going to be a really, really big deal.
Agreed. Would it help us to actually not go on certain exchanges, because there's so little liquidity on like Uniswap when people go to buy? OMI should it should squeeze really hard, because there's like what, $250,000 liquidity for $50-ish million market cap. I feel like, yeah, something like that.
Like,
crazy.
They don't, now that you can buy it through Stacker essentially and fund it with your Coinbase wallet, like, it's fairly easy to get OMI for those that want to have it. And so what I want is people in the US to easily be able to buy it, because that's where the majority of the money is. US, there's a few European countries like Germany and some other ones. And obviously the Middle East, they have some, we want oil money to be able to come in real easy, as well as opportunities in some of the other countries. But most of those countries can get on an exchange that has OMI. But in the US, they now can buy OMI, which is the biggest hurdle. So Stacker makes it pretty easy, especially if they have a Coinbase account. They can then fund their Stacker wallet pretty easy and then swap for it right there. So like you said, low liquidity there, that when it goes crazy, it could really go crazy fast. And then the exchanges will be beating down a Comey store saying, hey, let us list you, or they'll just pirate listed it anyway.
Yeah. Can't wait for that. RPM87 buying the SEI that I should pump before OMI. Then I'm going to flood into OMI. I
can't remember what SEI even is.
I don't know. Let's see. Let's go to the CoinGecko or the Gecko terminal and see SEI. I don't know. It's on base. It's up 2%, almost 3% on the day. $11 million market cap. 4.5 million in volume. God damn.
Market cap's 1.1 billion.
It's got what?
$1.1 billion market cap.
Okay, so it's not this.
It is that.
Well, this
But
is
coin market cap. It's showing a $1.08 billion market cap. Fully diluted value of $2 billion. They're on Binance, Bybit, Coinbase.
Oh, all right.
So, yeah, you know, rolling that money, and sometimes the larger cap alts like this will run before OMI does. However, there's a risk in playing that game. I tried playing that game last time. Some of the stuff I wanted to roll that money into ran way harder and way faster than the larger cap things I had it in. And so I lost some ground. So this time I just took strategic positions in the smaller market cap altcoins I wanted. And I'm okay if some of the blue chips run faster, because if you miss it with the small cap ones, it can run 12x in a blink of an eye when that other one's only done a 3x, and then you're behind. So that's why I've taken the position I have. If you can roll it successfully, fantastic. But what happens is you often hold the blue chips too long and don't roll it soon enough, and then you get blown out of the water.
Yeah. Agreed. What did you want to go over before I end it? You got anything?
No. Sounds like Lisbon was amazing, and I'm glad for everyone that's there. And you know, thanks again to Doc and Sanjay for making the case that Dan and David gave me a gold and silver logo. Much appreciated. And it sounds like everyone had such a fun time. I talked to Doc and Cosmo a little bit, and they just had a blast there. Sounds like it was amazing.
Next time, baby. Awesome. Everyone, please comment, like, and subscribe. Comments are good for the YouTube algorithm. Thank you, my co-host Crypto Rain. Everyone say bye-bye to Dashi. And I will catch y'all later. Bye, guys. Bye-bye, Dashi.